Learn Japanese history.
We are your navigators, Taro and Hanako.
Welcome. Today, we're diving into the earliest glimpses of Japan as, well, maybe not unified yet, but the communities that were there
Right, the foundations. We're looking at those small independent groups scattered across the islands.
and how they started interacting, how leadership emerged, and those crucial first connections with the wider world, particularly the continent.
It's fascinating because, long before any single Japan, the archipelago was this patchwork. Chinese records from around the 1st century CE actually talk about this land. Wa, they call it.
Ah,
Yes, Wa. And they mention over 100 distinct little states or polities paying tribute. So lots of separate groups.
100. Wow. So you have to picture this landscape not as one country, but like scores of tiny neighbors.
Exactly. And each seems to have had its own leader,
Right.
a chief maybe, someone
Well,
central.
and we know about these leaders how? From digging
Okay.
things up.
Pretty much. Archaeology gives us clues. At the places where these leaders likely lived, excavators find, well, valuable stuff. Bronze implements, iron tools, even glass items.
Okay, so not everyday items for everyone.
Probably not. These were often prestige goods. And interestingly, many seem to have come from outside the Korean peninsula, mainland Asia.
Ah, so trade was happening early on.
Definitely. It suggests these leaders controlled access to these desirable imports. That control was likely a big part of their power. This is all happening during the Yayoi period, remember?
Right, yayoi. When rice farming and metalworking are taking root. So these goods weren't just objects, they represented connections, maybe even knowledge transfer, like how to use the iron, perhaps?
It's very possible. It suggests they weren't isolated. Ideas could travel along with those goods.
Mm.
Which brings us to Yamatai.
Yes, Yamatai, the famous one, and its ruler, Himiko. The Chinese records mention Yamatai too, right? Somewhere to the east.
They do. But here's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Or maybe the million-yen question. Where was Yamatai?
Still debated, I gather.
Oh, fiercely. Strong arguments place it in Kyushu. Others point to the Kinai region near modern Osaka and Kyoto. We just don't have that definitive archaeological proof, that smoking gun site.
But the texts give us something. Intriguing clues, you said.
Exactly. And they paint this picture of Himiko, a female ruler, apparently engaged in shamanistic practices.
Shamanistic, like spiritual rituals. Connecting with the divine, maybe?
That's the description, yes. It points to a different kind of leadership model, perhaps, where spiritual authority and political power were intertwined. It's quite unique.
And she wasn't just ruling locally, she was looking outwards too.
Very much so. This is really significant. In the mid-3rd century CE, Himiko sent diplomatic missions to the Wei dynasty in China.
Wow. Okay, so that's a big step. Why do that?
Well, likely for recognition. Formal acknowledgement from a powerful empire like Wei would boost her status back home, and of course potential benefits like trade or maybe even alliances. It shows a level of strategic thinking.
So learning how to play the international game, essentially.
You could perhaps see it as a form of instruction, yes. Observing and engaging with a more established state.
Hmm.
The Wei court sent gifts back, famously including bronze mirrors. These weren't just pretty objects, they were symbols of that connection and the legitimacy Wei bestowed.
So these interactions are clearly shaping things internally. It's not just importing goods, it's importing ideas about power, about diplomacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And while we have this patchwork of small states, like Yamatai, you start to see hints of change over time.
Things consolidating.
Gradually, yes. Later on, we see the appearance of much larger burial mounds. We won't get deep into the Kofun culture itself today, but those massive tombs definitely suggest a shift.
Towards more powerful rulers, bigger territories.
That's the implication, a change in social hierarchy, the emergence of figures who could command much more labor and resources. It seems connected to these earlier interactions.
So the groundwork was being laid.
Exactly. Those early contacts, the flow of goods, technology, maybe even political ideas from the continent, they were crucial seeds for what came later.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What's the big picture here?
Well, these early centuries, they weren't static. It was a really dynamic time. You have all these independent communities, local leaders rising, and crucially, these vital connections being forged with the wider Asian world.
And Yamatai and Himiko, even with the mysteries, give us this amazing snapshot of the politics and, well, the spiritual life of the time.
Right. It really underscores that the Japanese archipelago wasn't cut off. It was actively engaging, absorbing new things. Tech, ideas, ways of organizing society. This initial phase, this diversity of small states and their external links.
It really set the stage for the more unified Japan that would eventually emerge down the line. It makes you think, doesn't it? About how those initial interactions shaped everything that followed, what other kinds of knowledge beyond just the tangible goods were being exchanged back then.
That's the question that keeps historians digging.